What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to Blazers Uprise Live, powered by BetUS. Today, we got some unfortunate news to talk about as the injuries are already striking your Portland Trail Blazers as Shaedon Sharpe is out 4 to 6 weeks. And with the Portland Trail Blazers, when a player is out 4 to 6 weeks, normally it means longer than that, so who knows when he is back. But unfortunately, injuries are already striking the Blazers, and it's funny because we had conversations about what the opening night rotation would be, and we also talked about how an injury would magically solve some of the minutes and starting lineup questions to start the season, and now it seems like opening night starting lineup set in stone. We're going to talk about the fallout from Sharpe's injury. We're also going to talk about recent comments from Chauncey Billups that implies that Deni Avdija might be the best Portland Trailblazer on this team. That's going to be a fun conversation. We'll also preview the preseason a little bit, and we'll talk about our favorite things from the weekend. Eric, how's your Monday going?
Oh, it's going really well. It's my mom's birthday today, so happy birthday to my mom. I'm not sure if she's in chat yet or not, but make sure if you guys see her in there to wish her a happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to your mom. It's been a minute since I've seen her in chat. Hopefully she'll hop back in here one of these days because I always enjoy seeing your mother in chat. Happy birthday, Charlene. This is going to be a fun stream, I think. Talking about injuries, not so fun, but it's the final stream before preseason postgame shows. So the next stream is going to be on Friday, the 11th, after the Blazers take on the Clippers for their first preseason game in Seattle. So we're going to be talking about basketball that we watch on the next stream. So
no stream Thursday, right?
No stream Thursday. We're just doing our preseason postgame show on Friday, which is why we will preview the preseason today. Let's hop into your guys' favorite things from the weekend. Let me know what your favorite and least favorite things were from this past weekend. Eric, how was your weekend? What was your favorite and least favorite thing from this past weekend?
Well, my favorite thing was, so my daughter, she was a really, really good rec soccer player. Was often one of the best players on the field whenever she played. And she tried out for a competitive team and made it, and has been with that team since June, but had really struggled just going up against better skill players, and it had really been tough for her to do anything on the field. She's played some goalie and has done fine with that, but in terms of just dribbling the ball up the field against better players, it's been really tough for her. But yesterday in her game, she had a bit of a breakthrough. She looked like a different player out there, and actually ended up scoring 2 goals, her first 2 goals in competitive. So that was really fun to watch as a dad.
Nice, man. Congrats to her. She's working her way up, huh?
Yeah.
You've really turned into a soccer coach.
I know, dude. I think that's my whole life right now is kids soccer.
Yeah, chat. You can start calling him the soccer dad at this point, because that is exactly what he is.
Yeah, I was telling helping coach it for my son's team, and I was telling the head coach that this isn't my expertise. Basketball, I'm much more comfortable with basketball and stuff. But yeah,
you might be catching up on the soccer side of things. Maybe you and Connor can start having some soccer conversations. Connor is our moderator. He's a big Timbers fan, so I wonder if the Timbers are going to make the playoffs. I know they're right on the edge, so all you Timbers fans out there, hopefully for your case, the Timbers can make the playoffs. I know they've been an entertaining team this year, although they haven't necessarily been a winning team. They've been pretty middle of the pack. So,
what was your favorite thing of the weekend, Tori?
It's a great question. Just relaxing, I guess. Honestly, kind of a tough weekend and didn't really do a whole lot, so not much to write home about. But hopefully next weekend is better. At least we get Blazer basketball next weekend, so I'm looking forward to that.
Nice. My my least favorite. There's two things. First of all, the Niners are really pissing me off, as I'm sure that's one of your least favorite as well. And then seeing this news about Sharp, which we'll get to in a minute, was just really a bummer heading into FanFest on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. So, chat, in case you guys don't know, viewers at home, me and Eric are both Niner fans, and honestly, at this point, man, I'm done. I'm so over that team, and I'm over. They're sitting at 2-3. They've choked two double-digit leads to bad teams, and it's funny because in terms of Niners media, you have your guys that'll make any excuse for the organization, and then you have your guys that'll criticize everything, right? It's funny because I think actually compared to that, with our coverage of the Blazers, we fall more towards the middle. But on the Blazers side of things, you actually have a lot more positivity right now and in the past couple of years than you do in regards to the Niners coverage and, reporters, people that analyze the Niners on podcasts, YouTube channels, etc., right? So it's just kind of funny how there's more positivity over here with the Blazers when we suck than there is over there with the Niners right now, because it's been absolutely brutal. And it's always fascinating to just kind of compare the differences between, some of the media and Twitter and all that between the Blazers and the Niners, because it is definitely different.
You had posted a certain someone's positive tweets about like, oh, we just beat the Seahawks on Thursday and we're in first in the division and all this stuff. It's like, what? If you would have told me you were like we'd be 3-3 and tied for first in the division after 3 years, I would have been like, that's not good enough, right?
Yeah,
like,
soft schedule, Super Bowl ambitions, yeah.
Yeah, we have one of the best rosters. I know, McCaffrey's hurt, Debo's been hurt, and several players have been injured. But, we still have a good enough team where we shouldn't be blowing double-digit leads. And so it's frustrating to me that to see people like, oh, well, you should be happy because they still could win the division. And yeah, because no one in the division's playing well, and that's not what this team had aspirations to do, is just win the division. The NFC, obviously Minnesota's looked awesome and Washington's looked good, but it's not like those teams are likely to keep this up all season. So the Niners should be right in the driver's seat right now at 4-1 to get the 1 seed, the all-important bye week to get healthy, and that's really all that matters for this team, is making the playoffs healthy and staying healthy. And it's just I don't see it happening right now.
Yeah, I just hate the mindset of just make any excuse you can. If there's a chance that it'll be okay, it'll be okay. No, I mean, if you're a Super Bowl team, you hold yourself to a higher standard, and that standard should be being better than 2-3 against a cupcake schedule where you have had two controlling leads that you've choked to a beat-up Rams team and the Arizona Cardinals, right? So it's just kind of some of the stuff that we talk about with this team, right? When they were trying to win, you have to have a winning standard, and sometimes you may have reasons for why things go wrong, reasons for why things go poorly. And injuries with this team, unfortunately, has been a big reason for things going poorly for decades now, right? But you can't really control injuries. You have to control what you can control, and you can always be doing something better. So I've always hated organizations that say they hold themselves to a high standard, but then the moment things get tough, it's excuses, and it's them not holding themselves to the standard that they said they would. So that's the frustration right now. And honestly, Eric, it just has me excited to stop talking about freaking football on these live streams and talk about basketball. It's like, thank goodness the Blazers season is starting, because at least they're supposed to struggle and we can accept that, It actually has me looking forward to basketball with the Blazers. The college season should be a ton of fun with this draft is a generational draft. Jonathan Gavoni was quoted as saying it's the best draft he's seen in like 20 some years. And, That's not to say Cooper Flagg is a better prospect than Victor Wembanyama, but if you go down throughout this draft, man, it's freaking loaded, absolutely loaded, especially in the top 10 picks, man. So Blazers, even if they win a few more games than people expect, are going to have an opportunity to draft a star caliber prospect, and that's going to be a lot of fun to talk about all season. And, I'm also excited for my only good team at this point, which is, I guess, Gonzaga, because Lord knows Mariners and Niners are actually driving me more crazy than the Blazers right now. So, just frustrating, the sports fan curse, right? Like, extends all the way to my fantasy team. I'm just done talking about football. Ready to talk about basketball, ready to talk about prospects, ready to talk about, even Bronny playing with LeBron was cool to see, man. I know some people will roll their eyes at that, but that was still pretty cool. And preseason basketball is going on right now, so I'm just happy
that
everyone
everyone else gets to play but us.
Yeah, I don't really understand that, but I'm just happy that we're back to basketball.
Yeah, I agree.
So first preseason game, the 11th. Blazers take on the Clippers. Let's jump into somebody who unfortunately won't be playing basketball for a bit. Shaedon Sharpe. What was it? Let me make sure I get it medically correct. It was a partial left labrum tear?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Yes, which was the same injury he dealt with in Summer League his rookie year. His rookie year, game 1 of Summer League, 5 minutes in, playing against Jaden Ivey, Detroit Pistons. We were live on stream. He had like his first nice bucket, then down on the other end, tore his left labrum. And Eric, I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't concerned that this is the same injury that he dealt with in Summer League of 2022. Now it's 2 years later, but it's just ironic. I don't know that it's the same injury. It doesn't really make sense to me that he was working his way back from injury last year, presumably got healthy and was playing in Rico Hines runs and was, I assume, playing in the Blazers scrimmages runs that they were having in the practice facility leading up to training camp. And then on media day, if you remember, he had a quote saying he just wants to be healthy and play a full 82-game season, and that's kind of the biggest thing for him. And not even a week into training camp, he is already out with a similar injury, the same injury, that he had 2 years ago. And that just leaves questions as to, like, okay, what play did he hurt it on? And if it wasn't on a specific play, that's a little bit worrisome, right? There's just a lot of questions that I have, and I just don't want it to get to the point where we're talking about him as an injury-prone player because he had the core injury. This is the second time he's dealt with a torn left labrum. He hasn't even started his third season yet.
Yeah, this is like the one player that I was hoping wouldn't have this issue this year. Like, if I could just say one player I got to wave a magic wand this year cannot get hurt, it would be Sharpe, just because I feel like pretty much anyone else, we have someone in place at that position to be like, okay, well, this person can get more minutes now or whatever. And it would suck. Like, I'm not saying I want anyone else to get hurt. I'm just saying, like, even I know now we can start Scoot and Anthony, and that's fine. But that's still, I think most people would agree it's probably one or the other of those two long term, right? And then Sharpe as the shooting guard, if it works out like perfectly. So in my mind, I'm bummed because he was like the one guy where we didn't have like a backup shooting guard or someone that we're like, okay, well, now we get to see this guy play more. And it's cool that we will definitely get to see for sure set starting lineup. I think I don't imagine there'd be any surprises now to the starting lineup in game 1 of the regular season. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer because we're coming into Sharpe's third year, And the third year is really important for rookie deals because, um, you start to get into the third off season, and that's when you have to start thinking about extension talks. You just have to start talking to his agent about it. You have to decide if you're going to try and work out a team-friendly deal or, pay him money ahead of time, thinking that he would break out his next year. And I know he might not miss much of the regular season. It's just anything where we don't get that clarity that Joe Cronin talked about at the beginning or at media day. Just frustrating to me if we continue to have this problem and never really know what we have in him.
Yeah, so there's still lots of question marks for me with Shaedon Sharpe in terms of his ability to become what we hope he can become, which is a star caliber player. He had flashes last year of some star caliber play, but the biggest thing that in the biggest jump, the biggest part of making that leap to stardom is you got to be able to do it consistently. And even he talked about that on media day. And there's a ton of guys in the NBA that for a game or 3 games or 4 games or 5 games can look like a star, right? Can look really, really, really good. Shoot, Delano Banton probably had a 4-game stretch last year where he looked like a star, right? He had some really impressive games, but in between those really impressive games were nights where he was 5 for 21 and forcing a bunch of crappy shots at the rim instead of making the right pass. And that's why Delano Banton is Delano Banton and not, I don't know, the next Luka Doncic, right? So the thing is with Sharpe, man, is we love the flashes because it shows what he is capable of on a one-night basis, but it's a totally different beast to string it together consistently. And if he's dealing with injuries where he can't even see the court consistently, that makes me a little bit more worried about his ability to develop that consistency with his game. Because there's just a lot of moments where he'd kind of disappear offensively. Even in the middle of games where he was having a good first half, he would kind of disappear a little bit in the second half. And ultimately, he needs to have that killer instinct. He needs to be able to consistently assert himself to have a star caliber impact offensively. I'm just worried, man, if he's consistently missing time, how much harder is it for him to find consistency at the NBA level? Because ultimately, I think the number one factor for that for him is consistently playing and getting experience and getting those reps. And that's how he's going to develop into a star if that truly is his destiny. But he needs to be healthy to do that. You're muted.
Absolutely. The tricky part is, it could actually play into the Blazers' hand, I guess, if he had another injury-prone season. Maybe, it wouldn't be to this extreme, obviously, but we saw Nasir Little take what a lot of people thought at the time was a very team-friendly contract, just because he wanted some assurances of a guaranteed contract in case he's continued to have injury problems. So maybe that's something that you get him for cheaper than you could have ever gotten him if he didn't have injury problems. Someone earlier in chat, Elizabeth Allen, said maybe it could have the Steph Curry luck, where Steph has ankle problems this whole early part of his career and ends up signing a ridiculously good contract for the Golden State Warriors. He's winning MVPs on like a $12 million contract or something like that. And so, maybe you get lucky with something to that extent. But, yeah, it's just this is, third year. Even if you're talking about, a long-term project-type draft picks, third year should be when you start to see them break out a little bit. So we weren't really sure when we drafted Sharpe if he was going to contribute right away or if it was going to be a while because he didn't play in college and all we had to go on was high school stuff. And, he's shown those flashes of being capable or having that skill set that could lead to at least fringe level all-star play. Um, but we haven't seen enough of it, in my opinion. And so, yeah, that's why the injuries are just so frustrating, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So out 4 to 6 weeks, that could definitely be longer. The hope is that he returns sometime in November, but we've seen these things drag out with numerous players with numerous injuries in the past. So the other bummer for me was I actually wanted this organization to be challenged with figuring out this rotation, a healthy rotation, right? Because they were really going to struggle to get Matisse Thybulle on the floor, but I felt like they were going to try. And how would they balance the minutes with Thybulle, Kamara, Avdija, Scoot, Sharpe, Simons at the point guard, shooting guard, small forward spots? Like, that was going to be very, very tricky for them to do. And I was actually a little bit fascinated to see them try and figure that balance all out. With Scoot being, or with Sharpe being out of the picture, you would assume Scoot starts. Some people have said start Tumani, Avdija, Grant, Simons, Ayton, and I guess you could put Avdija as the point guard and Simons as the shooting guard. I honestly don't hate that idea if the Blazers would actually use Deni Avdija as a legitimate point forward. I'd be a little bit worried that Avdija would just be too much off the ball and it'd just be Simons' point guard, and then you don't really have the I don't know. It's just not as ideal to me because ultimately Deni, I think, could have a jump. We're going to talk about him in a little bit. I think Deni can have a jump if he's given the usage and the touches because he's a really hard worker and very skilled. And he had some of his best moments last year for Washington as a point forward. But I don't know. I kind of have a gut feeling that if they rolled out that lineup, right, Tamani's just going to be parked in the corner and it's going to be a lot of like Simons ISO, Grant ISO, etc. And I'm not sure how much that lineup contributes to the Blazers trying to achieve a faster pace. I think with Scoot in the starting lineup instead of Kamara, right, because those are kind of the two options, you're going to hopefully see this team play at a much faster pace with Scoot being a primary reason for that. Also, I want to see Scoot and Ant start together and just see what that looks like and hopefully get more of a sample of that because unfortunately last year we didn't get much of a sample of Simons starting next to Scoot. And on Media Day, Joe Cronin said they need to find more clarity. It was one of his comments I agreed with. They need to find more clarity, especially with their backcourt situation. So I would like to see Scoot and Simons start together, finish games together to start the year. I assume that they would probably stagger them a little bit like they've done in the past with Dame and CJ, where Simons subs out early and then subs back in for Scoot at the point guard position, or maybe Scoot subs out early and then subs back in for Simons, where you have one of those guys at the point guard at all times, and then they'll play some next to each other at the start of games, the start of halves, and at the end of the fourth quarter. Because ultimately, what other point guard do you have on this team? You could try and pigeonhole Delano Banton there. You could give Avdija some point guard minutes. Maybe you stagger him with the bench. I don't hate that idea just to get him enough, point forward reps, so to say. I mean, your only other option, though, is Devontae Graham, and he should not be playing. And probably I don't think is going to be on the team, but after this injury news, who knows? So it does kind of clear things up rotation-wise, but it will just be interesting to see still how they shake it all out.
Yeah, I expect Delano to maybe be part of the early season rotation too, because of this injury. And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing to have a guy like him for emergencies like this, but I just hope it's not like as part of the actual rotation once we're healthy. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Hopefully just give Scoot and Anthony some time to figure out playing together. The sample size wasn't huge last year, but, mixed results. Some of that just could have been, both of them had their, if you figure out, like, the context of the situation, like, Scoot is trying to figure out how to play in the NBA and his struggles early on and got better as the year went on. So was that just necessarily because he was playing with Anthony, or is it just because of his progression throughout the season? Or is it could they really just not play well together? So I'm at least excited that we get to see that. But yeah, man, Sharpe was. I mean, I'm sure most of us were hoping to see a jump from Scoot primarily. I mean, great if we saw a jump from everyone, but like Sharpe was right there behind Scoot as the guy I think most people wanted to get that look at this season. And this could look silly in a few weeks if we're talking about him only missing like a handful of games or whatever. But not getting the rest of training camp, not getting preseason, and then so he'll be a little bit behind coming in. And then, as you alluded to at the beginning of this conversation, just the fact that this is flaring up again 2 years later, that's probably not a good thing when it comes to shoulders and things like that. Usually, if you start to have issues like that, it's eventually going to lead either to it always being an issue or maybe some sort of surgery on it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just...
At least it was his left shoulder, though.
True. And the weird thing with keeping Graham is, he is, to answer Adam's question in chat, he is a training camp contract. And if you keep him, who are you going to cut? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
you'd have to cut a guaranteed contract. Yeah.
Honestly, if they kept Graham, my guess is they would cut Reith. But maybe they'd cut... I don't see them cutting Banton. I don't see them cutting Rupert. They already have 3 centers going into the season, right? And you can play some small ball center. I mean, they're tanking, right? They can get away with Jabari Walker at center, and that maybe helps their ambitions of getting lots of lottery balls, ping pong balls at the end of the year, right? So if they kept Graham, my guess is they would cut Reith, but that just seems like silly because Reith was somebody that was actually like a positive offensively at the center spot and had some problems defensively, but for a third-string center, I think he's a very solid third-string big man. Unfortunately, he's a fourth-string center right now, so it's like, is there a team out there that would see some value in Reith? I think you could maybe get a second or two for him just from a team that wants a shooting big man off the bench. I mean, we've seen teams trade for Mike Muscala in the past. What can Mike Muscala do that Duop Reith can't? So... I still think Graham gets cut, though. I think that's kind of the end of the roster upheaval, I guess, this offseason, the little bit of roster upheaval we had. You bring in 2 new players, maybe a third in Graham. I don't think it's going to be Graham, though. I think if things get bad at the point guard spot, they just play Banton at more point guard and play Avdija at more point guard if they lose Simons or Scoot.
Yeah. I think the only way they keep Graham is if he just thoroughly outplays Banton, and I think Banton would then be the one they cut. But
yeah. This next conversation I'm really excited for, right? Really, really excited to talk about Deni Avdija and Chauncey's comments on him. If you guys are aware of some of my previous takes on him, maybe you know where I'm going with this, but first, we got to give a massive shout out to our sponsor, which is BetUS. And if you guys want in on the action this season in the NBA, if you're a sports bettor, make sure you bet responsibly, but make sure you take advantage of this promotion because this is a phenomenal promotion they're giving you. It's pretty unmatched out there. 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% bonuses on your second and third deposits, up to $2,000. If you use that promo code on the screen right there, YouTube150, and we're going to be picking BetUS spread lines with picks against the spread this year, so you can get in on that action as well. Especially, you can maybe follow Chat's picks, because Chat was about 20 games above 500 in picks against the spread last year. So if you want to get in on any specials, have some fun, have some money to throw around, make sure you check out BetUS. They're a great supporter of the channel, and use that promo code YouTube150 for that promotion, and take advantage of that. Also, join our Discord. There's a link at the top of the description box below. I saw Zam in chat ask if we have a group chat. We have our Discord, and we're going to be doing a ton in our Discord this season. We're going to be running post-game stuff through there a little bit. live call-ins. We're going to do that occasionally on some post-game shows. We're going to do that through our Discord. We're also going to do some giveaway stuff through our Discord live on a few post-game streams this season on top of other stuff. And then we have game threads, and you can interact with other Blazer fans. So make sure you join that Discord. Be active in that Discord. As the first giveaway we do, we're going to pick people that are active in our Discord between now and that giveaway date. So join the Discord, interact with Blazer fans, have fun in there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing a lot of stuff through there because, we got like 850 people in that Discord, so should be able to do some fun things this season. All right, Eric. Do you want to lead us into this one? Because, I have some thoughts here. I have some thoughts.
Did you see my comments the day before about this?
You said something about Deni's playing well.
Yeah.
I don't remember how exactly you phrased it, but basically Deni's playing well.
Yeah, so I had heard last week after our last show that Deni throughout the runs leading up to training camp and then obviously the week of training camp had been, quote, by far our best player. And they said the only person even contending with him would be Anthony. Had some moments as well and had been playing really well. But it's not like necessarily a knock on Anthony. Like, Deni's just been that good. But Anthony's also been good. But, yeah, Deni apparently has just been by far our best player in camp so far. And no one else other than those two has really played that well, I guess. So, I mean, you have your like we talked about Chris Murray and players like that. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about in terms of like the main guys,
Yeah. So I had a take a couple months ago. I think it was sometime in July, and our live chat disagreed with it. The majority of people disagreed with it, and that take was Deni Avdija is better than Jeremy Grant. Deni Avdija is better than Jeremy Grant. Also, I believe Deni Avdija is better than DeAndre Ayton. Also, I do think you could make a case that Deni is better than Simons. I'm not going to go there, but you could absolutely make that case. And the case hinges on Deni is our best defensive player. Maybe behind Klingon, but it's tough to say with Klingon being a rookie, right? Like, Deni is our best defensive player. Maybe our
definitely best perimeter defender.
Yeah, but he can bang a little bit inside too. Like,
no, I'm just saying, like, he's
in terms of impact, he's our best. Yeah, best defensive player. Probably our most versatile defensive player. Maybe Kamara. Maybe you could put Kamara up there, but I mean, Deni's strong. He's big, right? Like, he's our best defender, most versatile defender, in my opinion. His playmaking is an absolute plus for a forward position that can play either forward position, right? Playmaking is for others is far better than Jeremy Grant's, right? Jeremy Grant is kind of like put the ball on the floor and try and score. Deni Avdija is handle the ball, put the ball on the floor, read the defense, make the right play. And there's just a difference. And I prefer the latter, especially because Deni can finish too. Deni has 3-level scoring ability, shot the 3-ball 37% last year. He's also a much, much better rebounder than Jeremy Grant. Much, much better rebounder. Averaged 17 points per game last season on pretty solid efficiency. The only case for Jeremy Grant being a better player than Deni Avdija is Jeremy Grant is a better scorer or shooter. Jeremy shot 40% from 3, Deni 37%. Right? Inside the arc, I think they're pretty similar players. Deni averaged 15 points per game. I'm at 17 per 36. Deni's per 36 numbers last year, 17.6 points per game, 8.6 rebounds, 4.6 assists, 1 steal, and half a block a game. I think Deni is a better player than Jeremy Grant because he contributes more to actually winning basketball games. And that's because of all the little things he do, which matter. Jeremy Grant's scoring is an asset, and on the right team, he's a really good player. And honestly, on some teams, he'd be a better fit than Deni Avdija, right? Like for the Los Angeles Lakers, for example, I think Jeremy Grant would be better for them than Deni Avdija. But in a vacuum, I'll take the guy that can score and do everything else, and will rebound, and will play hard consistently, and busts his ass on defense, and holds his teammates accountable for how hard they play. And all that intangible stuff Deni has. And that's why earlier in the offseason I say he's a better player than Jeremy Grant. He's just a much more well-rounded player. And that's not to necessarily put Jeremy Grant down. It's more so I really like Deni Avdija before the Blazers traded for him because of all these traits. And it's really hard to find a forward that can knock down threes, can handle the ball, can pass the ball, and plays really, really good defense and rebounds. He doesn't have a weakness. So I'm really excited to see Deni this season, and I think he's a terrific pickup and the type of forward the Blazers needed going forward in this rebuild. Honestly, the type of forward that the Blazers needed the past 15 years, right? You can always use a player like Deni Avdija. So to hear Chauncey say that doesn't surprise me at all. I think Denny's the type of player that Chauncey gravitates to, and I think Denny's going to have a big season if he's given the usage offensively, if he's given enough responsibility offensively. And a quote like this only gives me confidence that that is going to be the case.
Yeah, I do want to make one distinction. There is quite a bit of difference between who you would take like on a team between Jeremy and Deni, because Deni is obviously the pick there. He's younger, has a much better contract.
Even if you don't take that into account, though, Eric.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you're taking a player, I don't think anyone would pick Jeremy Grant over Deni Avdija right now. But yeah, just in terms of who's playing best right now, here's, in a weird way, I think this trade is going to end up being like the best thing that ever happened to Deni. Because it's like something obviously clicked for him last year, and he started to play a lot differently and at a higher level. But when you're on a team and I don't really know how to say it other than, he kind of sucked at times his first few years. Yeah. Like, not defensively, obviously. He's been good defensively since he came into the league. But, he struggled offensively, both shooting the ball and just, with all kinds of, he showed flashes. We talked about the flashes with Sharpe earlier. He's shown flashes of, doing things, but he never really put it all together. And so when you're on a team, and it's not necessarily, I guess, 100% this way, because obviously teams, there's some turnover and stuff from year to year. But when you go from being like kind of okay-ish to good on a team, it's like hard for those guys to like respect you as good then. Like, you know what I mean? Like they recognize your improvement and stuff, but it's still like, yeah, but you weren't that good like a year ago, right? But now he's like coming into a situation where like these players on Blazers don't know this, so he just comes in as, wow, this guy's really freaking good, right? And he's comfortable now since he is playing better. He can step in and show that he's a leader, whereas if you're on a team where you hadn't really been a leader and then all of a sudden you try to be a leader, sometimes that can be kind of clunky or awkward. So I think that it's going to end up being really good that he got traded, especially to a team like Portland that needed a guy like that to just take the reins and be that guy who isn't afraid to call out players. And, we have some quiet leaders on this team that lead by example, but we don't really have those get-in-your-face type guys. And if he can both do that and be one of our best players at the same time, that's nothing but positive things could come from that.
Yeah, he's a perfect example of why you got to be patient with young players, especially when they have a good work ethic. Because by all accounts, he has a great work ethic, right? Like, this dude spends time in the gym working on his game. Some of it is working smart, not necessarily hard, but if you listen to him talk about the way he transformed the way he thinks about shooting the basketball, it makes more sense why his 3-point percentage took a jump from 30% 2 years ago to 37% last year. And now that is something we have to see to make sure that it maintains, but I'm confident he'll be, at least a 35% 3-point shooter. I'd be surprised if it dipped below. But he's also one of those guys where, like, he provides so much, okay, it's fine if he's a 34% 3-point shooter, in my opinion. It's obviously not as good as 37, 38%, but he provides so much value in so many different ways that his shot doesn't have to be falling for him to have a positive impact on the game. And unfortunately, there's a lot of guys where it's like, man, how much are they positively influencing this basketball game given the fact that their shot's not falling? And you have, even a guy like Simons, man. If Simons not hitting threes, like, okay, he's drawing attention from the defense still, and hopefully he's getting downhill and finishing, but it's like it's still offensive stuff. Whereas Deni can have a rough offensive night, and he provides you value on the boards, defensively, making the right pass, making the right play, his energy, right? Because ultimately, a high-energy guy that plays hard and keeps his teammates accountable uplifts players, right? And I think that's maybe a problem with the way this team was constructed going into last season is you didn't have anybody that was vocal. You didn't have anybody that would get on guys. And it's funny because Denny's still 23 years old, but he feels kind of like that veteran coming in that will get on guys and be that vocal leader. You need that. It's fine to lead by example, but ultimately you want some guys that will be vocal in the locker room and hold that locker room to a high standard. So, hopefully going forward, Scoot can also be one of those guys because we surely know he's vocal. If you saw his media day Scoot cam that the Blazers tweeted out on their Twitter page, right? He's very vocal, right? He's not afraid to be loud, but he had a ton of lapses last year, effort-wise, transition, and, mentally he had a little, shaking confidence, all this sort of stuff. So for Scoot, it's like he needs time to grow into that. With Deni, he's already there, in my opinion. So I'm super excited, and he took a jump, man. He took a jump. He was one of the most improved players in the league. He finished 6th in most improved award voting last season, and his finishing inside the arc took a jump. His free throw rate took a jump. His 3-point percentage took a massive jump. His playmaking took a jump, right? And I don't know, man. When you see a guy improve in so many different areas, it's like, okay, that's not fluky, right? He's putting time in the gym. If it's somebody where, he's kind of struggled to shoot the 3-ball, but then, his 3-ball was much better this year. Everything else was kind of the same. I worry a little bit more about those types of players than somebody where it's like, man, this dude just got better in literally every area this past season.
Yeah, right. I saw Zam in chat saying you guys are putting too high of expectations on. We're not saying like he's going to be All-NBA or something this year. I think there's a difference because, like, the Blazers, I mean, we know they lack a lot of high-end firepower right now. We have some guys that we hope turn out that way, obviously, but you can't say that for sure about anyone really yet. So I don't think it's like necessarily saying he's got to average 30 points and get 10 assists or something. And we're not saying that or anything, but I think he could easily be our best player. And that doesn't even necessarily mean he's that good. It's just he's better than this like group of players who are all kind of on the cusp of maybe being that, but wouldn't surprise you if they were or weren't, I think Deni has the type of skill set that if I had to bank on like one player being consistently good throughout the season, it would be him, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's move on. Let's preview this preseason real quick, Eric. Also, chat. Should we respond to you? Should we respond to chat more? Just a question for you guys to answer, okay? While we discuss this preseason preview, then we'll take Q&As. We'll talk with chat. We'll hang out with you guys for a little bit. Once we get into post-game shows, man, we'll do a lot of community stuff. So I've seen multiple people in the stream come in and I saw a question earlier. Do they look at chat? Yes, we look at chat. We just obviously have deep conversations about this team, and that's what this show is. Preseason preview, Eric, goals, maybe things you're looking for, sets you're looking for. You can kind of go anywhere with this, but what is your preseason preview? What are some things that you're going to be paying attention to?
I don't want... Chauncey already started with the excuses, so this isn't going to surprise me. But you shouldn't need to have things go perfectly to install an identity or to get your team to play the way you want to play them to play. And so I want to see them play like Chauncey says he wants them to play, and I'm hoping the new assistants help a lot with that. So I wanted to get out and push the tempo. I just and it's preseason. Who cares if you turn the ball over, right? That's where you learn how to maybe not turn the ball over. So I hope it's just run and gun, getting out. I also want to hopefully see a little bit of defensive scheme-wise, just like using Deni I'm not sure how much he'll play, but using him to lock down the perimeter, and just kind of curious to see how they use the other guys off ball, hoping they don't rely on zone as much as they did last year as well.
Yeah, no zone. It's just basically kind of stylistic things that we wanted to see last year that they didn't really do a good job of achieving last year, but ultimately we want to see progress towards them this year. Pace, moving the ball, some of the things you talked about. Zone, right? I don't really want to see as much zone, especially putting a guard down low in the corner. And then you're looking for Scoot to hopefully look more composed, just hopefully look better, because he should just aesthetically and visually look better at this point than he did this time last year, of course. So hoping to see that. Preseason is the time to work on stuff. You don't need to spam Grant ISOs. So I agree with Wes Davison in chat, who says less Grant ISO. Absolutely. We need to see that going into the season.
Like 20 times in a row, just Grant ISO.
Yeah, man, I feel like we've played some super ISO heavy preseasons in years past, and I've gotten frustrated with it. And people are like, it's just the preseason. It's like, it's not reacting as in like, oh, this team is gonna be bad in the regular season because of preseason, right? It's not like a preseason overreaction. It's more so of a preseason is your opportunity to work on what you need to work on. You don't need to work on ISOs. You don't need to watch somebody dribble the ball into the ground 10, 12 times. Like, this is the time for you to work on what you struggle with. So it's more so of the intent of preseason, what you're trying to get out of preseason. You don't get anything out of playing ISO-heavy basketball in preseason, right? I can go out there and stand in the corner. Eric can stand on the other block, and we can watch Jeremy Grant take 4 dribbles into a mid-range pull-up, right? You can put any 2 people, they can go stand on the court and watch somebody play one-on-one basketball. Right, but this team needs to play more like a team offensively, and it's been an issue. They were last in assist percentage last season. They need to improve upon that. They need to play fast. So offensively, those are the primary 2 things: play fast, play off of each other. Defensively, I'm not expecting a whole lot, and I am expecting some like weird experimental zone, but that's kind of whatever to me. They're going to play a lot of drop. We kind of know that, so. It's mostly just outside of hoping certain individual players look good. It's play fast, play off each other.
And I'm warning you right now, you're welcome to your opinion, chat, but I am putting anyone in timeout who tells us after Friday night's game, oh, they don't want to show what they're doing in the preseason. Like, if that's your comment to us analyzing why we're not running or pushing the tempo more.
Has somebody said that before? Because that is I don't even remember, but that's ludicrous.
Happened the first 3 years under Chauncey. It's like oh, they don't want to. They're expected to be good, so they're not trying to show what they're working on in preseason. They're trying to save that for the regular season. So just wait, you'll see, right?
You start showing it in the regular season, you're going to get scouted anyway. It's an 82-game regular season. So what are you really saving? Yeah, I mean, yeah. And obviously with this team not trying to win, like, okay, they need to develop, they need to improve, and that starts now. There's no point to save improvement when you're going to lose probably 60 games. Maybe it's in the 50s this year. If they improve, if they get something out of this preseason, right? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the offense looks like with these new assistants. I think if you had the same coaching staff coming back this season, then
thank God for that.
I would just kind of expect the same old crap. So I do hope that this new infusion in the coaching staff can bring something to our offense.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the new coaching staff, except for to the extent where they make Chauncey look too good.
We'll worry about that when we get there.
I mean, having just, Rodney off the bench, Rodney Billups, Chauncey's brother, the nepotism is gone. And, I mean, good luck to Scott Brooks, but, I mean, I'm sorry, but it was not a good fit. I don't know. It just seemed like Chauncey had a bunch of yes men on his staff, and hopefully some of these guys can give him some harsh truths when the team's not playing the way it is.
Yep.
But as for Taylor Packer says Chauncey's been hiding his playbook for 3 years. Well, Taylor, he has his guys this year, so he finally has that competition at the forward position that he's been begging for. So he doesn't have that excuse this year because he finally has his guys.
Yeah, finally got Avdija. That's going to unlock his super secret, super complicated offense.
Yeah. Hopefully Avdija can pick up on it, right? Because it's so complex.
Yeah, it sounds like he's picking up on it, man.
I know, just kidding.
Taylor also asked, do we want to see Klingon still checking some threes in preseason, or should we leave that in Summer League? Eric.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I don't know what you're going to say to this, but chat, let me know if I'm crazy. Because Eric won't tell me I'm crazy. But chat, normally you won't just come right out and say it. Right, normally you'll be a little bit more nuanced, but chat, you can call me
respectful.
Yeah,
I'll start talking crap to you.
Chat, you can call me crazy if you think I'm crazy. But as far as Klingon shooting threes, I want him shooting open threes all season long. All season long, even if he's shooting 20%. You want to know why? Because the Blazers seem to value that when they drafted him. Mike Schmitz was talking about it in their whole, behind the scenes of Klingon getting drafted. When they worked him out, Schmitz was talking about him, think this guy can really shoot the ball. I'm paraphrasing, but go watch that. If you have not watched that, this team absolutely seems to have valued the fact that they think Donovan Klingon can turn into a three-point shooter. So in a season where you're going to lose a bunch of games anyway, you might as well just let him shoot, because otherwise, it's okay, why did you value that if you're not going to have him shoot open threes? And ultimately, the first thing is confidence. The second thing is developing a repeatable jumper. Myers Leonard came into the league, wasn't much of a shooter, but he worked on it really hard. And Klingon apparently works on it hard, and I think Klingon might be ahead of where Myers Leonard was as a shooter coming into the league. They were both 2-year college players, and Myers, we know what he became. I don't think Donovan Klingon's ever going to become a 40% three-point shooter, but why not? Why not? So he misses a bunch and we lose games? Okay. Hopefully we get Cooper Flagg. We're going to have better ping pong luck anyway. This season, you should not be viewing it in terms of we need to do this or not do this to win games. You need to view it in terms of how can we develop these young players to be the best possible versions of themselves 3 to 4 years from now? And in my opinion, that's letting Donovan Clingan shoot threes and telling him to shoot open threes and having him shoot threes with confidence. And yeah, maybe he needs to dial it back if he's just so bad that he can't stay confident, but challenge him to just shoot open threes with confidence no matter what the results are. Because the best shooters in the league, they don't worry about if they miss shots. They don't worry about if they miss threes. Steph Curry can be 0 for 7 from 3. He's still shooting every 3 like it's about to go in. The best shooters view it in terms of like, man, if they're 0 for 7 from 3, they're due for one, right? Try and develop that mindset in Clingan and challenge him to have that mindset and just see where he is as a three-point shooter. And I bet you, it's probably not going to look too pretty, but I bet you he improves throughout the course of the season. Then you can go into next year like, okay, maybe if we're trying to be more competitive, like, all right, well, he has to prove it now. He's had a year where he's been allowed to shoot, allowed to try and stretch out his game. Okay, now hopefully we see the benefits of that, right? But even then, this is a multi-year rebuild. This is a multi-year process. Developing Donovan Clingan's three-point shot is going to be a multi-year process, but apparently that's a process that the Blazers themselves are bought into. So I say let him let it fly at this point.
Yeah, so I'm kind of with you and kind of the other way too. Because if he's open, I don't mind at all shooting threes. Same way with Nurkic. Let it fly. Like, I don't care, right? Maybe if we're eventually good and we're trying to win and you're still shooting 22% or something, like, dude, stop shooting threes maybe. But like you said, it doesn't matter at all this year, so I don't really care if he shoots some threes. I'm not going to say he needs to shoot this many a game or anything like that. But my main thing, I said it this whole draft process, all of, like, when we were scouting players last year, I really think both Anthony and Scoot, and especially Scoot's long-term development, benefit the most by having a elite rim running lob threat big. And I want Clingan to establish that first and show that he can do that. And I know I'm not saying you can't do both. That's why I said I'm kind of in between.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to see him popping on every screen, like, because he's like trying to become a three-point shooter. So
of course not. Yeah, this should be all that he does.
Yeah, basically on the rolls, like, I want to see him diving hard to the rim and forcing the defense, like what happens to us, like every defensive breakdown where it seems like we have one guy trying to decide whether to stop the penetrator or the lob threat. And so I want to see that out of Clingan more so than I care about whether he's shooting threes or not. Just don't get 2-3 happy, and I'll be fine either way.
Yep. Shout out to Bruce Davis for being a channel member. 23-month member message says, "Hi, Tori, Eric. I'm back in the Philippines married. Congratulations on getting married. Did you get married in the Philippines, or did you get married over here and then go back to the Philippines? Either way, congrats to Bruce. Thank you for being a channel member." And then I think part of Clingan shooting threes is he in a lineup next to Robert Williams or DeAndre Ayton? If so, pick and pop more. You know,
that's true.
Like some of it's situational, right? But if he's the center and has 4 shooters, like, that's when you roll more, right? It's like situational thing there. And I mean, sometimes he may start to roll and there's somebody sitting in the dunker spot and the paint looks packed and he backs out to 3, right? So like there's a situational aspect there that shouldn't be like all he does, right? He shouldn't turn into Myers Leonard where he only shoots threes. He's 7'2", 7'3", whatever you want to call him. He's huge. So he should be around the rim quite a bit offensively, but I mean, if he can knock down threes, especially with his passing, like, that's super intriguing to me. In like my pipe dream, my super optimistic vision of Donovan Clingan is like, man, maybe this dude could be Rudy Gobert with a 3-point shot and passing ability. How good of a player would that be? That would be a borderline top 20 player. And, you know, going into the draft, it's like, he probably doesn't have much upside, I mean, Rudy Gobert multi-defensive player of the year, right? And he's been an all-star, and he can't really do anything offensively. So if you can get somebody of that defensive impact, which is like next to impossible, okay, I don't want to understate how special of a defender Rudy Gobert is, but like I can't rule out that being Donovan Clingan's defensive ceiling. So I mean that's kind of the upside with Clingan is a lot of it comes on the defensive end first, and then you have some offensive aspects that hopefully you can tap into.
Yeah, maybe took a slight step back, but you saw someone like Walker Kessler come in his rookie year and have a pretty strong defensive impact.
Now he just gets dunked on by everybody.
Yeah, we had. Tamani was pretty good for a rookie. I know he's not a center, but like he had a pretty good impact. I mean, he wouldn't necessarily notice it based on some of our defensive analytics, but like. He was pretty impactful as a rookie. So, like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he does have an impact in his 18 to 22 minutes a game right away.
Is it wild to say this team shouldn't be a below-average team defensively based on their roster?
I don't think that's wild, especially with if they have a fully healthy team, not counting Robert Williams because I don't know if he'll ever fully be healthy, but like when you're trying to make the three guards work, I think it's a little harder, especially this year when you're not necessarily trying to win, to have a really locked-in defense. But I think with Sharpe being out and, Deni for sure starting, Jeremy can go to like a role where he's a little bit better suited for on the defensive end. If Avdija's getting through some picks or stopping a few more or like preventing a few more drives per game than we've given up in the past, then that takes a little bit of pressure off someone like Ayton from having to do too much as well. So I think they could be decent. I don't know about like good or anything, but I definitely think they could be an average-ish defense.
They should be average-ish if the guards are like close to average.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be heavily analyzing Anthony Simons' defense this year. I've already said that. Advanced defensive metrics say he's like the worst defender in the league. And when I watch him, I don't think he's that bad. He's definitely below average, but I don't think he's like the worst defender in the league. But honestly, I need to watch him a little bit harder defensively, and I need to watch him with an unbiased view, because I feel like there's been times where I watch Anthony Simons and I'm trying to look for reasons why he's not the worst defender in the league. Like I'm trying to look for the positives more so than I'm just trying to like analyze his defense as a whole. So this year I'm going into it like, man, fresh slate. It's going to be like I'm watching this dude's defense for the first time. And on post-game shows, we'll talk about that. I'll talk about that, what I see on a night-in, night-out basis from him defensively, because, man, it's like I don't want to get too caught up in like trying to prove that he's not the worst defender in the league when all these advanced defensive metrics say he is.
Yeah. And that's Scoot's job, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, Scoot defensively last year was bad. Sharpe defensively is bad, right? So it's like those three guards are the reason why our defense could be below average, because you look at the rest of the team, you got Kamara, you got Deni, right? Both very impactful, positive defenders. Clingan should be a positive defender day one. And then you got guys, Thibault is a positive for as much as he kind of drives me crazy with how much he gambles. He's above average at least. And then you got okay guys that I don't think are negatives in Ayton and Jeremy Grant. And then, of course, Robert Williams plays. He's also a positive. So you got positive defenders in that front court. The thing holding it back is that backcourt, right? And then, like, if Delano Banton plays heavy minutes for whatever reason, right, like, he's not going to help you out defensively either. So I think you're kind of going into the season with like, man, if this defense is still below average, it's probably going to squarely fall on either the stuff they're running defensively and the way they're coached defensively and or the guards. You don't really have like negative front court players defensively in the same way that you had in the past.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
Blazers play Friday, Dro. They play Friday. 77% of people said we should respond to chat more. Okay, we'll talk with chat right now. Feel free to post your questions. Once we get into post-game shows especially, we'll talk with chat a lot more, and we'll do live call-ins, and it'll just be a little bit more fluid, like kind of go with the flow. So that'll be fun, and we'll take your calls. I'm sure Dro will participate in that. Suns Valley Podcast says more life advice. If any of you any questions, we'll answer them. You can make them about whatever you want. We won't answer necessarily every question if you make it about something that we shouldn't talk about on stream. But Alex Wolf says, how will the Cavs do this year? 5th seed. We'll do our preseason predictions. Or not our preseason. Yeah, like our predictions before the season on the 21st, that Monday. Do you guys know who's not playing on Friday? I am not sure. I know Sharpe's not playing. I know Robert Williams is not playing. I know Thibel's not playing.
Yeah.
Max Anderson, you do not need help with that. That is a healthy addiction. James Porty says, sorry, haven't been watching lately. What's your guys' early predictions on Klingon? Eric, what are your early predictions on Klingon?
Well, one, I'm not sure how much he's going to play. I'm expecting, like I said a few minutes ago, 18 to 22 minutes a game. I think they're going to slowly ramp up his conditioning throughout the season. I don't think they want to push him too much. Yeah, it'd be interesting if, Aiden missed a game or something if they play him a bunch. But I think they're going to let him ease into things. And I expect him. I mean, he clearly looks big on the court, right? So I think he has a little bit of that intimidation factor. So I think he can impact some games, especially around the rim. Something we have clearly needed for a couple of years now. And so I think he could have some impact defensively. I don't really know what his numbers are going to be. I know we've talked about the Bet US lines and stuff like that, but it's kind of hard to predict that without knowing exactly how many minutes he's going to be playing.
Yeah. Tori, what will best option for a rookie center be? Do we start him or have him come off the bench? I think coming off the bench is fine. I just don't want his minutes to be lower than like at least 18 to 20. And people say, oh, his conditioning is not that great, right? He can't play that many minutes. If his conditioning is not great, what better than to play him minutes so he can improve his conditioning, right? Like, you don't want him to completely fall apart out there on the court, but I don't agree with shying away from playing him 20-plus minutes because of his conditioning. If anything, I think that's a reason to do it.
Yeah. And, Aiden's going to play at least 26 to 32 minutes a game, so there's not going to be a whole lot of time. But that's one of the reasons why we both want to move on from Aiden eventually.
Yep. Pillage Leaf says, what do you guys think of the Bucks this season? I think they'll be good. I think Dame will be better. So I think that'll make their team more dangerous. But it's tough in the East at the top. Dro says, are you guys going to any games? I will at some point. I don't know which ones, but we'll see.
David asks if UConn practices were so hard, why is conditioning so bad? I guess it's not necessarily conditioning. He's just had some foot problems, and I think it's more just not pushing him. Plus, I mean, when you're 7'2", it is hard to run for long periods of time. I don't necessarily think it's like some sort of huge issue that can't be overcome or anything like that. I just think they've been both at UConn and sounds like the Blazers will be just a little cautious with them early on.
Yep. Preston asked, biggest improvement for Scoot. I think rim finishing. Being able to get to the rim and get off better looks at the rim and being able to finish at the rim is the number one area I'm looking for.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just in terms of just his overall ball handling and maneuvering around defenders as well, leading up to that rim shot.
Yep. Sons Valley Podcast in here to help us get our likes up. We got 161 viewers, 46 likes. Yeah, man, we need you. We need you, Gabe, because the likes have been suffering. I don't ask for likes enough. It's the easiest way to support the channel and the work that we put into the channel is by hitting that like button. It helps us out. Is Zach Edey a lock to win Rookie of the Year? Definitely not a lock. Probably not even my prediction. We'll have those predictions on the 21st, though. How do y'all feel about airplane food? I mean, airplanes stress me out, so I feel stressed. Let's see. Brendan Smith says, how y'all cope with mental health? By not riding airplanes. I don't know. By not paying attention to my favorite sports teams. Other than the Blazers, man. The Blazers honestly have been fine for my mental health the past, since they traded Dame, I guess. You know, it's been very low stress, Eric. It's a lot different when you have expectations. Ketchup on hot dogs, should it be a crime after age 10? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The bread normally is pretty dry, right? So you gotta have the ketchup and the mustard to provide a difference in texture, to provide some moistness, Eric.
Yes, gotta get that moistness.
Yeah. According to Manny, who's Manny? I think I know who you mean by Manny. Scoot is not in the top 3 of importance for development this season, and Klingon will get lots of DNPs. Both statements are ludicrous.
If that is truly how the Blazers are approaching this season, they are effing stupid, and I hate this team.
What? Like there ain't no way the dude you drafted 3rd overall last year to be your starting point guard long term is not in the top 3 of importance for development.
Who's more important than developing?
Sharpe?
Maybe make the argument for Sharpe. Maybe Sharpe.
But here's the thing: if you're making the argument, but Eric, if you're making the argument that Klingon is also more important, then there's no reason he should be getting DNPs.
Right.
I mean, there's no reason that, no matter what, that you should be getting DNPs. I mean, what are you doing? You tanked all last year to draft this dude at 7 just to give him DNPs because you're going to try and play Robert Williams and DeAndre Ayton ahead of him? Like, what are we doing here, man? Like, that's pretty ludicrous. Like, it's one thing if you're a good team like the Pacers with Jarris Walker, but I think that's just silly, especially because Klingon is supposed to be more NBA ready in terms of what he's good at.
And even, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's weird they play Robert Williams even if he's healthy over Klingon. Like, I don't know. Plus, I mean...
But they're going to have to make some... If they're fully healthy, they're going to have to make some weird lineup decisions. That's the point we've been hammering on.
But that's why we've been saying get rid of the freaking veterans, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. But I just think the way the team's talked about the way Klingon's been, like, I haven't heard anyone say, like, oh, he's not ready to play in an NBA game, or like it's stuff like, wow, he picks things up really quickly and he's a really smart player and he's, you know, he seems like he knows what he's doing and things like that. Like, those kind of players coaches put in games. They don't bench him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Taylor confirmed the Klingon DNP part. I mean, I hope that's not true. I hope that's not true. But honestly, Eric, I can see it. They tanked last year. They're rebuilding. They suck. They're going to be bottom of the West, and then they go into the season with this dude that is his defense should be NBA ready. Apparently, he's picking everything up well. Blah 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 blah, and then give him DNPs because you're playing Robert Williams and DeAndre Ayton when you suck. Like, that's just kind of the directionless stuff that we talk about, and that's why we probably should have just flipped Robert Williams when we got him in the Drew Holiday flip. Like I was begging them to, and people were saying, no, Robert Williams is the type of center the Blazers have needed for years. Well, they needed him when they were trying to win, but as they go into rebuild mode, you should have flipped them. You should have flipped them instead of, oh, well, maybe we can play him while we suck and hope that he doesn't get hurt. Well, guess what? He got hurt, which shouldn't have been a shocker. Like, that's just, if that results in, oh, he's finally healthy this year and Klingon, who we just drafted 7th, is getting DNPs, then the whole Robert Williams part of that Drew Holiday flip is just malpractice.
Yeah. What? The only argument you could give to playing Robert Williams is when he's healthy, trying to get some sort of trade value out of him.
But at the expense of playing Klingon?
Yeah, I mean, what would we be doing in that?
I mean, there is this narrative that, like, playing in NBA games doesn't matter much for development. And I don't agree with that narrative. I just don't.
Well, okay, so Bubger says... He said something like Anthony, Shaedon, and Deni were more important for development this season.
I mean, Ant is not really in development mode anymore. Like, he's gotten better, but A, it doesn't surprise me that Anthony is put ahead of Scoot. Okay, because Anthony's his guy. Okay, but Ant's 25 years old. Like, he's still young, but I mean, what are you talking about in terms of development?
And when you're talking about, like, most important development, it's not just, like, your 3 best players. Yeah. Like, Deni and Anthony can get better. I hope they improve and get better. But that's not development. That's just them improving. Like, Dame, adding a logo shot isn't development necessarily. Yeah. That's just him getting better at basketball, So, but, like, Scoot, we actually need to develop, like a lot of his game. So, yeah. To me, that seems more like trying to do the opposite of what Krona did last offseason, where he was hyping Scoot up. Now they're trying to, like, lower the pressure on him, in my opinion, if that's what he said. Like, they're just trying to... like, make it seem like they're not worried about Scoot at all,
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with at all.
But that guy also supposedly said Scoot's, like, best case scenario is Marcus Smart with playmaking.
Yeah.
Which is just a ludicrous comparison.
It's just, why does everyone compare him to, like, really good defensive guards that aren't good on offense? Like, it makes no sense to me.
It doesn't at all, man. Like, it's just a bad comparison. Like, Scoot's a pure point guard that was not good defensively his rookie season and is like a playmaking point that shoots mid-range shots off the dribble floater. Like, he's just very point guardy. And Marcus Smart is very much like a wing, an undersized wing that defends and can make some plays, but at, like, a basic level for a wing. But is like a lockdown defender. It's just a really bad comparison. So the stuff around Scoot, man, is just strange. That's why I just hope he puts to bed all the crap this year and breaks out. It's the conversations are are getting silly. College Marcus Smart was an offensive beast, yes, but we're not talking about college. We're talking about Scoot, the NBA player, and Marcus Smart, the NBA player.
If Scoot struggles at the beginning of the season, what's your over/under on games until he puts the goggles back on?
I don't think he's putting the goggles back on.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he's putting it back on. So, over, I guess, would be the answer to that. Was just crazy how different Smart was in the NBA. I mean, yeah, some players got to adapt. I mean, there's been some other players that have been much better defensively in the league than were expected, and that was their key to getting playing time, right? Because some guys can just skate by on their offensive skill set until they get to the league, and then they have to figure out how to provide value in other ways because they go from being a star at every level to a role player. So, some players never, they end up out of the league in 2 years because they only know how to shoot the ball. Preston says, where can I find the Discord? Top of the description below, there's a link. If the link doesn't work, let me know, but it should work. It should be a permanent link. So go to the description, the top of it, join the Discord. And also shout out to Preston for becoming a starter level member. Thank you, Preston. It was good to see Zach in here earlier. Always enjoy seeing Zach in chat.
Yeah. Oh, I did. I had a conversation with Rich yesterday. He said to give everybody his love.
Nice. How's he doing?
He's doing fine. About as good as he could be under the circumstances, but yeah.
Gotcha. Is Johnny Flynn a good comparison? That's ludicrous.
Huh.
Whoa, what are we doing? Let's see. A couple other questions I wanted to answer. You guys killed it tonight with the questions. Klingon DMP equals major duo-up minutes? No, I think Klingon DMP is based on they're playing Robert Williams and DeAndre Ayton. I just think that's you're going into the season trying to develop players, and this organization just feels like it thinks about things weird. And sometimes it's hard for me to exactly explain why I feel that way. But I guess my best kind of example is like you're going to struggle. You're trying to rebuild. You're trying to get better. And then you go into the season and it's like, well, we still have Robert Williams and DeAndre Ayton at the center spots, and they're better than Klingon right now, so we're just going to play Ayton and Robert Williams, and Klingon will be fine not playing. We can develop him in practice, and it's just weird for a team that's projected to be the worst team or the second to worst team in the West to think about things that way. It's like, why did you go into the season with a center that is definitely ready to play some minutes and develop behind two veteran centers? And it's just directionless. It's just kind of lacking a plan. And you got Thibault on the roster. You matched his contract. I mean, what's the long-term plan with Thibault? You just kind of have him on the roster for no reason. And he probably shouldn't be playing. If all the guards and wings are healthy. So it's just kind of like you got this mismatch of pieces that you're just trying to figure out, okay, who should we give minutes to? Do we need to make this what's the word, meretricious, based on merit? Does the rotation need to be based on who the best players are, right? Klingon's going to have to come in, and if he doesn't beat out Robert Williams, he's not going to play. Is that really the mindset for a rebuilding team that's going to win 25 games to have?
Robert Williams made it through one practice, so how could he not be outperforming?
Yeah, but that's the thing is okay, well, injuries clear up that.
Right.
They're almost saved from themselves by injuries.
I forget Cronin's actual quote, so I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he mentioned several times how they need to be focused on what's best for them long term, right?
Yeah.
During his media day. So to me, if you're playing Aiton and Robert Williams and Klingon's getting DMPs, you are not looking at your long-term outlook at all. You're stuck in the short term. And I know it's going to come back with, well, I'm not telling Chauncey what to do, but I mean, come on, you guys invested a whole tanking year into Donovan Klingon. Like this has to be about his development too. And going back to the Deni thing, like Klingon, Sharpe, Scoot, those are the most important guys on the team for development. Because the other guys like Tamani, yes, we want him to develop. I'm not saying we don't or it's not important or anything like that. But like Tamani developing into like an elite role player isn't going to win us a championship. Like we need one of those three guys to become a star, or we need to find a star elsewhere. And so this isn't going to. It's not going to help if we continue to not get clarity on these guys, and it's still kind of murky what their chances of reaching that level are, what we need to do to get to that contention, how far away we are, and all that kind of stuff. Those are questions that we need to start seeing some sort of plan or action as to how you're going to answer those questions.
I forgot what I was going to say. But ultimately, I think, if I had to guess, it's more so Cronin wanting to be able to trade Robert Williams for a good package.
Oh, yeah, he obviously
which obviously is great and all, but like if you he has to stay healthy. And is that even likely? Right? He made it through one practice, already hurt. Right? So A, he has to stay healthy. B, he has to play well enough. C, is that worth not playing Klingon and not giving him developmental minutes? Right? So what's the likelihood of actually being able to gain more from Robert Williams playing than you would from Donovan Klingon playing and developing? And I don't think that leans towards Robert Williams. But if you're, and I just get this feeling from Cronin that he like wants to, what's the word? Cronin wants to be liked, and Cronin wants people to think he's doing a good job. He wants the fan base to think that he's making good moves. Sometimes as a GM, you have to make the unpopular move or the unpopular decision. But, the fan base doesn't like that. So, if you go into the season, if you're the Portland Trailblazers GM, and you want to be approved of, if you want the fan base to think you're doing a good job, you play Robert Williams hoping he stays healthy. If he gets hurt, it's like, oh, what can we do? We play Klingon, right? We drafted this guy. We love Klingon. And Klingon plays. Or Robert Williams miraculously, unfortunately, I have to use that word, miraculously stays healthy, and you trade him for more at the deadline. Then it's like, man, look what he got for Robert Williams. This makes the Dame trade look even better. So, I don't know. Like, there's just, I'm not saying that's what it is. Because I don't live inside Joe Cronin's mind, right? Like, I'm just kind of speculating as to a possibility here.
Well, you're not really speculating, but yeah.
It's something that I wonder about. Yeah, it's something that I wonder about, and like I said, there's kind of a weird feeling about the mindset from this organization, and that's kind of my best way to explain it, is like viewing things through that lens maybe a little bit too much, and that's why you wouldn't play Donovan Klingon when you just drafted him 7th overall and he's ready to play some minutes and develop. Now, the counter argument to that has been the past couple of years, playing doesn't matter that much for development. That's essentially been the counter argument, which, I mean, like, how do I even argue against that? Like, okay, sure, if you feel that way, whatever. Like, I disagree. I think getting NBA reps does help you become a better NBA player.
Sorry, you're forgetting right before the summer we traded Dame, Joe Cronin his own words that he's going to have to make a trade at some point, and it's going to hurt to have to, and it's going to seem like we gave up a lot of value, but sometimes you have to make those tough decisions, and then no, let's not do that.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, I didn't want them to match Thibault because, like I said earlier, why is Thibault even on this team? Like, if you could clear his $10 million of salary, wouldn't you do it? You don't need him. I mean, if you like Banton's your sixth point guard, shooting guard, small forward, right? Because you got Avdija, you got Kamara, you got the three guards. So Banton's your sixth. Thibault's your seventh? They don't view Thibault that way. But the thing is like we have this feeling like Thibault's going to play. Okay, why is that? Oh, well, probably because they hope they can flip him for something. But it's like you can't.
Australia didn't want him, man.
Yeah, like that's kind of a little bit far-fetched, number one, and it's too far-fetched for me to cut minutes for young players that should be developing in a rebuild year. So it's the unpopular decision would have been to not match Matisse Thybulle when Dallas gave him that contract. But looking back, it looks like to me that was the right decision. Because you're not gaining anything, in my opinion, from having Matisse Thybulle on this team.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to give him minutes that should be going to young players just to try and get anything for him, that could be a negative.
Yeah. You start to mess with Tamani's development a little bit because if you're playing Deni and Jeremy already, it's not a ton of minutes if you start playing Thibault as well. I don't know.
Yeah. But, I mean, guys get injured, and then all of a sudden you're playing Taze more. So, and you have enough minutes for everybody, even the G League guys. So, hopefully we don't go that route, but it seems like that's just the route we end up going down. Good to see Jakob in here. Good to see some of you guys in here that I haven't seen in a while. We will try and answer more of your questions if you're here on Friday after the preseason game. For that post-game show, should be fun. Definitely going to interact with chat a lot more now that we're into post-game shows, and especially once the season starts and we have like 2 Blazers Uprise live streams a week and then like 3-4 post-game shows a week. That's 6 streams a week, right? A lot more time to answer your questions, interact with you guys. But, this was fun because I like seeing all your guys' comments in chat. And normally when me and Eric have conversations, we still pay attention to chat. We just also making sure we listen to each other and maybe looking up stats and that sort of thing. But I do read chat throughout a stream, so I always appreciate you guys that come in here and interact with us through the live chat. Also appreciate those of you who watch back after and leave a comment. I do read those as well. And I will try and be more responsive on stream, on air, and in the comment section after streams to any of your guys' comments. Because ultimately, you guys make this channel run. Like, you guys make this channel work. So we appreciate all the engagement and all you guys that support the channel, that hit the like button, all that good stuff. Shout out to Taylor Packer, member for 5 months, says, thanks for getting me through the offseason, guys. Yeah, I mean, it's over, man. Next stream is going to be after a basketball game, so we're really here. Thank you, Taylor, for everything. And, yeah, man, we're looking forward to it.
Farrell Roly-Poly says, what about the Wednesday game?
What Wednesday game? There's a Wednesday game next week. There's a Wednesday game next week. We play the 11th, 13th, 16th, 18th.
Thank you, Preston.
Dro says Tori saying whatever he can get for them Dronos. I mean, you can leave a Drono if you... I know. You can leave a Drono if you want to leave a Drono. It's up to you. I will not try and persuade you to leave a Drono, Dro. You do what you please. Anything else, Eric?
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Hope to see you after the game on Friday. Yeah. Good to have you all in here. And hope you all have a good week until Friday.
Yep, 100%. Once again, if you want to get in with BetUS, use promo code YouTube150. There's a lot of fun specials, Blazer-related lines over there on the website. And you can pick spread lines, pick your conference winners. Just have some fun. Pick some season-long stuff. BetUS is giving you an awesome promotion if you want to join in on the action. 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% sign-up bonus on your second and third deposits up to $2,000 with the promo code right there on your screen, YouTube150. Use that promo code. It helps out the channel, and it helps out BetUS. I mean, BetUS has been a phenomenal channel partner the past couple of seasons, and you can have some fun with them. Of course, please bet responsibly. Shout out to them for sponsoring Blazers Uprise Live. And I'm looking forward to Picks Against the Spread. The first Picks Against the Spread live stream will be on opening night. Normally we do Monday, Thursdays, but opening week we'll do Monday the 21st and then Wednesday the 23rd because we have like 14 games to pick from, and we'll preview opening night as well. So looking forward to that first stream. Looking forward to having some fun with that. Appreciate the channel members. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We're out of here. This has been Blazers Uprise Live powered by BetUS. We will catch you next time. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.